I was directed to a video asking which we should accept, evolution or creationism. Let's take a look.
Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Mike, and I think I might have the toughest question of all today.
Really? The toughest question ever? How do they get the caramel in a caramel bar? How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Why does my wife still meet with her personal trainer even though all the gyms are closed these days? Really? Anyway, there are lots of tough questions out there. Which specifically is yours?
The question is, why should we believe in creation over evolution?
That is a tough question because, as far as I can tell, there's no reason to accept creationism since there's no evidence of any kind of intelligent creator being. Whereas, we can observe that mutations occur between generations in biological organisms and that beneficial mutations are passed on via natural selection, resulting in speciation. But let's see what he has to say.
It's obviously a huge debate. It's a struggle for many people who are raised in church to believe that God created the world in 6 days. They go to college and learn about geology and astronomy and biology and chemistry and the theory of evolution.
Stupid schools teaching facts and knowledge. How dare the science classes use theories validated by science when teaching? Look, the reason why schools teach these things in science classes like geology or chemistry or evolution is because they've been confirmed by relentless testing and experimentation. That's kind of how science works. You test an experiment to determine what is true.
So why should we believe in creation and what the Bible says as opposed to evolution when many people in the scientific community say that it's factual and true?
The reason why those in the scientific community say that evolution is the best explanation of the diversity of life is because the evidence that has been collected so far all points to it being true, and none of the evidence has falsified the claim. We have observed the main tenets of evolution, that mutations occur between generations, and those that are better adapted to survive and breed are more likely to pass on their genes, including those beneficial mutations. Over time, those mutations build up, resulting in organisms so different they will be unable to mate with their ancestors, signaling speciation has occurred. We don't just take Darwin's word that evolution occurs, but examine the evidence that supports it.
That's a big discussion I can't answer in just a couple minutes, but maybe here's a good place to start. The debate between creation and evolution is not between blind faith versus certain facts. No, the debate is primarily between faith and faith.
Really? Science is faith? Look, for a scientific theory to be accepted, it has to be repeatedly tested. It's not just a bunch of guys in fancy lab coats saying, you know what, I bet this is true, let's tell everyone to believe us. That's religion. Scientists will sit around in their comfy clothes and think, hey, I might have an explanation for that observation that was made. Or, I think this claim by other scientists is false. How can we devise an experiment to show that my hypothesis is correct, including what conditions would falsify it? And then, the most difficult, problematic part that every scientist faces, how can we get the funding to do these experiments? So, after devising a method to test our hypothesis, securing the funds to implement that method, then the lab coats come on. And so begins the monotonous task of rigorously performing the same experiment over and 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 over again to either confirm or disprove the underlying hypothesis with at least some degree of certainty. Once that's finally finished, we can say that a scientific theory has been shown to be the most likely explanation for a given observation. Science is never about 100% certainty. New evidence could always come along to show that any theory is incorrect and needs to be revised. Rather, science says, with the evidence we do have, this is the most likely explanation for this observation. Religion says, this was revealed to us, trust us, it's true. But please go on. I would love to hear about how science is really faith, and religious beliefs and scientific theories are the same.
You see, the scientific method is based on an assumption. It's based on faith. The assumption is that there is no God. There is no supernatural being who could meddle with the results.
Scientists don't use God as an explanation for their work because of the simple fact that evidence is what is required for scientific theories to be accepted. And so far, there has been no evidence of a divine being that could, as you put it, meddle in the natural world. Once you have provided evidence of such a creature, then scientists will be able to factor in such a being that could be adjusting their results.
Which kind of makes sense. A scientist has to assume there are natural laws that he is trying to explore, that she is trying to discover. We can't assume that God sent an angel to mess with the data. But because of that, science and the scientific method can't speak about spiritual things. They have faith in that assumption that it's correct and develop a theory that goes along with it.
The reason scientists don't incorporate the idea of God sending an angel to mess with data is because, as I've mentioned, there's no evidence that such an event has ever happened. If you can show that angels exist and do change data, scientists will need to incorporate that idea into their work. Scientists don't assume that God's changed their work and experiments in the same way that climatologists don't speculate about the exact shape of Thor's hammer when discussing possible lightning storms. There's no evidence that such a being exists, nor that lightning is caused by their hammer strikes.
O Thor, mighty god of thunder.
I've gotten tired using the same Hemsworth clips over and over for Thor. Scientists don't assume there are natural laws. We have observed and discovered those natural laws. If evidence shows that our understanding of the world is incorrect, then we need to modify our understanding of the world to account for that new information. Bring new evidence to the table, such as proof of your deity, and scientists will have to modify or even scrap existing theories to account for that evidence.
But the Christian has faith that what Jesus taught is true. You see, Jesus taught that creation was factual and historical. He pointed back to Genesis and said that's what happened in the beginning. So Christians have faith in Jesus, and because of that, they trust the words of Genesis.
So, your understanding of the world is based on revelation. In fact, it's based on double revelation. You've been told that Jesus told the world was created by a deity. Great. It's claimed that it was claimed by somebody that an intelligent being created the world. As I keep getting back to, what evidence do you have to support these revelations? Sure, you can point to a passage in your book that says that other sections of your book are true, but how can we be sure that any of what you claim is accurate and actually comes from a deity?
Faith in Jesus, or faith in the fact that God doesn't exist, and everything has to be explained by natural law. Now the evolutionists might say, but what about all these facts? And the creationists might respond, but what about all these facts? What about the fine-tuning of the universe?
What a shock! A planet that life developed on had the right conditions for life. You're looking at it from the wrong direction. Yes, life developed on this planet. So, we can look backwards and say that it's not surprising that it had the capability for life to develop on it. If you look at any random planet in the universe, it will be unlikely to have life on it. But if you look at the planets that do have life on it, like ours, it's an almost absolute certainty that it will have the conditions to support life. If life developed on a planet that didn't have the capability to support life, then yes, you would have an argument for some kind of intelligent intervention. And we don't have faith in the fact that God doesn't exist. We're lacking any kind of evidence of any God, such as the one mentioned in your Bible. It's a claim that has nothing to back it up, so it can be dismissed. But if you have any, please present your evidence that supports your claim.
Did you know, in fact, that the odds of life existing on this earth are 1 in 10 to the 70th power? If you want to know how crazy that is, there was just a lottery drawing for $1.5 billion. The odds of winning it were 1 in 232 million. So basically, to believe that the Earth just happened to exist by chance is like saying the Earth won the lottery, not once, but 327 million times in a row, give or take a few.
You know what? I don't know that. I've seen creationists pull out extremely large numbers like this, but very rarely, case in point here, explain where they got those numbers from. Often, they're a combination of the fact that Earth has just the right conditions for life to form, such as the right distance from the sun or just the right mass, as Mike mentioned here, or they talk about how unlikely a DNA strand or fully functioning cell will come about just from random chemicals mixing. For the first, with the vast number of planets out there, it's not surprising that even a few of them have the conditions to support life. And looking backwards from that, it's not at all shocking that life would find itself on a planet that could support it. As for the unlikeliness of a cell or DNA strand spontaneously forming on its own, most scientists don't consider that happening. One of the current hypotheses is that simple molecules will end up self-replicating in order to dissipate heat. The guess-and-check method of natural selection resulted in those simple molecules becoming more and more complex, eventually resulting in DNA, cells, and an organism complex enough to work out that adding sleeves to a blanket is a completely game-changing idea. And the formation of life is a completely different question than explaining the diversity of life. Yes, currently we don't know for sure how life came about, but that doesn't mean we can't figure out how it changes over time. The ancient Romans didn't know how water formed or even its chemical composition, but that doesn't mean they couldn't figure out fluid dynamics. The aqueduct and their intricate system of lead pipes to transport water shows that. Too bad they didn't know about lead poisoning either.
So if you believe the Earth won the lottery that many times, you can believe that God doesn't exist, and we just happened because a Big Bang happened to bang.
It's not a case of believing that an intelligent creator being doesn't exist. It's that no evidence has been shown to point to one existing. I'll be the first to admit that not having evidence of something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But since we don't have any evidence of a deity, I have no reason to accept the claims of one, and we can't use it as an explanation for any scientific theory. And as an aside, we do have evidence that the Big Bang occurred. The background radiation in our universe points toward a rapid expansion 13.8 billion years ago. We can know that it did occur even if we don't know how or why yet.
So why creation over evolution? Both would claim we have many facts to support our case, but in the end, it comes down to faith. As a Christian, I trust in Jesus, and therefore I trust in the creation that's described in Genesis.
So your argument is you believe it because you want to believe it. Okay, that's all well and good. If that gets you through your day, you believe what you want to believe. I can respect that, but I don't agree with it being a logical way to try to understand the world. I would rather use the knowledge we have and continually increase our understanding of the universe, rather than just slot God into the gaps of our knowledge. But you haven't addressed the main concern. We have facts and observations to back up the theory of evolution, and really, any scientific theory. What independent facts do you have to support not only a deity, but your specific one as the cause of biological diversity? You started off by discussing how to deal with kids who go to school and learn all sorts of facts that contradict your belief system. If you want young followers to continue to be followers of your religion, don't just explain what you believe, but why. What independent facts can be brought that support your claims that an intelligent being is the cause of the universe? If kids learn facts and theories that are supported by evidence, in effect, we accept these theories as the best explanation, and here is why, but that contradict your beliefs, and you don't have anything to fall back on besides, I believe it because I believe it's true. It shouldn't be a surprise that an educated generation will turn away from those beliefs if evidence is presented for theories that contradict them.